Thanks so much for joining us once again on this week's special. Let me tell you, November is turning out to be a month of the heavyweights. Now let me tell you, during the 70s, it was Sunil Gavaskar who was king. Much like Tendulkar was in the peak of his powers, or for that matter, how Virat Kohli is conquering the world right now. But for every Sachin, there is a Rahul Dravid. For every Virat, there is a Rohit Sharma. And for Sunil, the emphasis on timing, not power. In the peak of his prowess in the 70s, Gundappa Vishwanath, who also captained India briefly, was known for the views. Exactly 20 years later, an iconic image of a diminutive, curly-headed 16-year-old boy walking out to bat at number 6 for India, with his team reeling at 41 for 4 against a fearsome Pakistani attack spearheaded by Imran Khan. And although he would return to the pavilion 15 runs later, Sachin Ramesh Tendulkar had just announced his intention of ruling for the next 2 decades. Sachin Tendulkar is an emotion, an inspiration and a dream for analysts all around the world. One look at his ODI records and you understand why the world is forever chasing Sachin. Now that is a lot of numbers, but how is this for an impressive number in our number diary? In 2013, India literally came to a standstill as we were forced to come to terms with our emotions, watching the living legend bid an impassioned goodbye to the game that he had given everything to. So what happened on the evening of Sachin Tendulkar's retirement? Boria Majumdar tells us more from the stash. I know for a fact that all of you have your favorite Sachin memories. Mine is that image of him walking out to bat at the Wankhede for one last time and everyone trying to capture that perfect moment. Were you there? Share that story. Use the hashtag TWS and I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back to this week's special. Let's start by wishing Langar a very happy birthday. No, not this one. The other one, the one that was one of Australia's most prolific with inconsistent results. He struggled to hold on to his place in the playing 11 and eventually the squad. But then it was finally in 2001 when he replaced an injured Michael Slater as an opener. Birthday. Now earlier when we had spoken of Sachin Tendulkar's iconic test debut, we didn't tell you that he had been dismissed by another debutant a day before his 18th birthday, Waqar Younis. The Pakistan legend will turn 47 on the 16th. The Sultan of Swing, Mr. Toe Crusher, Pakistan's youngest test captain, Waqar Younis was integral to one of the most feared bowling attacks in the world. His ability to reverse swing the ball at high speeds helped him possess one of the best strike rates in Test cricket, along with the title of the youngest to 400 ODI wickets. Happy birthday, Waqar. Now, greatness begets greatness. Did you know that Olympic legend Usain Bolt grew up admiring Waqar Younis? Well, here is something else for you to believe or not. So with that, we've got one more week left in this month of November. Here's what some of you had to say for last week. To use the hashtag TWS and we will continue to show them throughout our episodes. Until we meet again, you take care. It's the last week of November for us on this week's special, and we begin with some of the most iconic cricketers to have graced the game. Last week, we recalled the debut of the master, Sachin Tendulkar. For the 2 decades that he ruled, we drew a likeness with the one considered perhaps to be the greatest cricketer of the 20th century, Sir Donald. At the height of the Great Depression, he was Australia's hero because of his meteoric rise from bush cricket to the Test team in just 2 years. Upon his debut against England, he was... In fact, upon the comparisons with Sachin, Sir Donald himself recalled a story watching Sachin bat. He called upon his wife, who also confirmed that the style, the compactness, that out of all the extraordinary number that he possesses, this one makes it to our number diary. Now, in the year 2000, Sir Donald Bradman was part of a panel that voted on the 5 greatest cricketers of the century. Vivian Richards was one of them. It was greatness flared in his compatriot, another debutant, Gordon Greenidge. And this week it is a West Indian powerhouse, Gordon Greenidge, that contributes to believe it or not. Speaking of scoring centuries, Vivian Richards found tremendous success with his county Somerset, where in 1983 he helped his team lift the NatWest Trophy along with his good friend Ian Botham. Today, Sir Ian Botham is a well-respected commentator and revered for all the work that he has done for leukemia research. And that is the dream, isn't it? For your legacy to stretch beyond your playing days. For a former South African opening batsman, that legacy included a special chapter in the history of Indian cricket. Gary Kirsten, as a coach, has been a significant part of some of those golden moments when India became the #1 test side, when India lifted the World Cup trophy after a memorable night in Mumbai in 2011. And on the 23rd, Gary Kirsten will celebrate his 51st birthday. A trophy to define your legacy. And if you happen to accumulate what were the best bowling figures by Indian in ODI cricket along the way, so be it. Let's take you back to 1993 when Anil Kumble recorded 6 for 12 against the West Indies in the Hero Cup final. A packed Eden Gardens with almost 1 lakh spectators witnessed the moment on November 27th when Mohammad Azharuddin's India announced their intention as world beaters. And now let's get some more from the stash with Borya Majumdar. Well, so far we've spoken about all the heavyweights from the batting world. What about the bowlers? We'll be back to tell you more. Welcome back to this week's special. Now, let me tell you, this week in November was a significant one for West Indian cricket. The mighty Viv and Gordon Greenidge had made their test debuts in 1974. A year later, a few months after lifting the inaugural Cricket World Cup, the whispering death lull you into submission before unleashing the fiercest of deliveries. A 21-year-old Michael Holding made his test debut against Australia on the 28th of November. At a time when Australia's Jeff Thomson and West Indian Andy Roberts were considered to be the fastest, Holding would go on to be an integral part of the West Indian pace battery that decimated batting lineups around the world from the 70s. Speaking of a tall, record-breaking fast bowler, there are few Indian cricketers that have possessed the longevity, the courage to fight discrimination, the mental and physical battle of making a comeback. Then the highest wicket taker in women's ODI cricket, Jhulan Goswami. On the 25th of November, Jhulan will be 36, and it looks like there is no derailing the Chakdaha Express. And this week we end on a somber note. It has been 4 years since the tragic passing of Phil Hughes. His loss was a cathartic moment in the world of sport. It brought the entire cricket fraternity together in grief and also put into effect regulations that prioritize the safety of players. On the 27th of November, we will remember Phil Hughes, 63, not out forever. In the last season, when we remembered Phil Hughes, we were so moved by the emotional tributes that poured in from all of you. Share those memories again. Use the hashtag TWS on SS. Here's what some of you had to say last week. We'll be back with the first week of December, and let me tell you, that month possesses a lot of birthdays. So join us for the party. Until we meet again, you take care.